What surprised me is about how many people hold that vulnerability shield and they want to share it. They do. And the burnout of that shield goes so quickly because they want to do it for everybody, but they have a hard time holding it for themselves. The individuals that actually start to heal, they try to go full sprint. And when they go full sprint, it wears them out. Well, good morning. Today is February 2nd, the first day of February. I
First Monday.
had first Monday. Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
I've had the pleasure of being interviewed by Kelly. Kelly reached out to me and she has helped me out with a few different ideas about marketing. And then she was like, well, I got a crazy idea. Can I interview you? And I should be intimidated because I know she's going to ask some really great questions. But her name is Kelly Maxwell. She has her fingers in a lot of different pies, or other people like to say a lot of irons in different fires. And entrepreneur, business owner, house flipper, most importantly, mother.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up. You're, pulling me out of podcast retirement. So, it's been
Well,
a
welcome back.
yeah, it's been a minute since I've been on a mic, but, since I'm Will today, I wore my best Will shirt to get on your level. So, welcome to Normalizing Men's Mental Health, and I do have some questions for you because I think it's fun for podcasters to check in with their audiences and just do a touch base episode every once in a while. And so you've been doing this for 10 months.
I actually no, it's a little bit longer. It's actually been 11 months. I
Okay,
realized
11. 10
March.
since you've been dropping episodes.
Yep, March 9th.
Nice. Okay, exciting. How are we celebrating your 1 year anniversary?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm drinking out of a fire hose from college.
Mm, okay, that's fair. Not a lot of time to party when you're studying.
Nope, there is very minimal time to party now.
So you started your YouTube channel with obviously 0 followers,
Yep.
and I checked yesterday. You have 517 subscribers. Did you know it was that many?
I think it's about 570, 580 now.
Nice. So since yesterday, you've gotten even more subscribers.
Yes, I
That's
believe so.
amazing. Okay, cool. I think it's exciting because when we first met about your show, which is true for most podcast shows, is people start them and they think they're going to be the next Joe Rogan and everyone's going to want to hear what they have to say. And I warned you about that. And honestly, I kind of was a little discouraging. And I was like, listen, Will, this is a hard game. Like most people quit after 8 episodes, nobody listens, and you've proved me wrong. So well done. You've been crushing it, doing consistent episodes, pumping them out on socials, Spotify, YouTube. So I just want to commend you for excellent work as far as just the workload goes because you know it's a part-time job.
It's a part-time job, but with full-time, like, effort.
Mhm. Mhm. So I do have just a few fun questions for you. I did want to ask you though, how many episodes are you in now after 11 months? How many episodes?
How many have I recorded or how many have I
How
released?
many have you released to date?
Um, about 46, 47, I
That's
think.
amazing. So easily one a week.
Usually 1 a
Yeah.
week. There's been multiple weeks I've done, a couple.
Okay. That's yeah, I know how much work it takes and I know that's no that's a big job. So well done. Okay, first question I have for you. So, your podcast obviously is all about men's mental health, and the way that you tackle it is in such a real and honest way. What even inspired you to start this show?
So, I've lost, a few buddies to suicide, and I've almost taken my own life, but the aspect that I actually was trying to look at from the angle is, they tell you to go to therapy to get help, but I have not really seen people role model therapy in my eyes, and until I started getting into the mental health field, I realized that it's kind of like you have this intimate relationship with a person that no one else is really supposed to know about. It's almost like your imaginary friend. and you get to see him once a week, once every other week, depending on how much money you can get, like, you can be able to afford. But the other aspect of it, when you start healing, you start changing your relationships with your friends, your family, your community, your jobs, your passion, and kind of been in this, if you think about a compressed spring, and that spring has been so compressed, it doesn't remember that it's supposed to bounce. It actually gets stuck there. And then the more that you pull on it, the more that elasticity it has, but it's also been kind of damaged. But when doing the therapy, you don't realize that you're supposed to increase the compression so you can be able to move forward. You don't realize that it has other impacts. So the reason I started this is to help normalize. Yeah, when you start healing, life becomes different. How you handle it, how what people are expecting out of you. And then what are your new boundaries? What's your new systems? And just having that type of conversation with people to realize that it's not uncommon for that to happen to you.
I really, really appreciate that that is your approach because a lot of what I teach, business, I'm not new to entrepreneurship. I've started and sold several businesses. I coach people through, I own a marketing agency, and I work with little startups. That's where my heart is. But saying the similar thing to them in a business arena of you're gonna have to learn how to set boundaries. People that are used to being in your life that no longer support you now have a different role in your life. And just point like preparing people for that and actually having those conversations when it comes to like the mental health. Like I don't think enough people talk about that. Part of it is the how hard it is to lose your circle as you continue to grow and heal and how you find those new people that are supportive of you. So thank you for facilitating all these conversations with people, and I do love always your analogies. You make the best analogies, like with the spring. It really helps, lock it in. Next question. Looking back to when you first started podcasting, what is one lesson about vulnerability and emotional expression that you learned that might have surprised you?
What surprised me is about how many people hold that vulnerability shield and they want to share it. They do. And the burnout of that shield goes so quickly because they want to do it for everybody, but they have a hard time holding it for themselves. The individuals that actually start to heal, they try to go full sprint. And when they go full sprint, it wears them out because it's almost like they just got recharged a little bit. Vulnerability, I used to think for a while back it was a weakness. Somebody was able to use my words, my knowledge of what I used to went through against me. But Brene Brown talks about there's no courage without vulnerability. Um, and I also believe that vulnerability is also the thing that helps shed the light. It increases humanity between people. It normalizes where they're at. So I believe with vulnerability is the way of healing, but also with vulnerability, it allows you to get hit. So if you're always in protective mode, you're not able to be in accepted mode.
That was really, really deep. I'm trying to think of a qualifying follow-up question for that because that was so profound. Like, you're so good at this. It is refreshing to see people be vulnerable because you're right. And I think part of that growth cycle is having when you set those boundaries, when the people who do use it as a weapon against you, they can no longer be in your life or they can no longer be the role that they were. And I think it is important to also talk about how do you find the better people that don't use it as a weapon? How do you find the people that support me in my darkest moment, which I do believe is something you do on this show, right? You show people that you can hold that space for them, especially for men. I think it's so important because, as you know, you cram it in, you suck it up, you don't deal with it. We all do that, especially if you grew up here in Montana. That's kind of the culture, rub some dirt on it and get over it. So thank you, especially for being here and doing this work that you do.
So the other aspect that goes to, like you were saying about the boundaries and people leaving, what is different is So if you live in a very some people use this word, resilience is a really good word. But if you're in resilience mode too more, it goes back to that compression where you that becomes your new homeostasis. If you only have certain relationships and they are very finite, it's very transactional, and you're in a poverty mindset, learning the skills to look at relationships as being infinite, not actually as I'm always taking and they're always giving, but not actually expecting anything back from them. A healing mindset. It's a transformation of those boundaries with people of if I'm gonna let new people in, I also have to allow them to not be so predictable, and I have to trust myself that I could pivot. So, when we're talking about letting those new people in and finding those new people, that also means not going to the same watering holes, not going to the same places of eats, changing up the music you listen to the interactions, waking up to different hours, and being willing to fail at different tasks in life because you have to go from a new juvenile mindset to allow new people in instead of you'll keep collecting the same people over and over.
I know your show's for men, but I love teaching women how to say the word no because they're notoriously bad at it, right? We're taught that we're supposed to serve and take care of everyone's needs before our own. And I'm encouraging them to do the opposite. You can't take care of people if you're not fully okay and rested and, emotionally satiated. So you got to set the boundaries and tell those, I call them energy vampires. You got to tell them no. They just suck the life out of you and you think you have to serve them and you don't.
Yeah,
So, okay, you ready for the next question?
I am.
This is a good conversation. I'm having a blast. Okay. Many of your guests obviously share deeply personal traumatic experiences. Which guest story has impacted you the most?
It's honestly, it's hard to really say which one did. I had a good buddy on here, Aaron. Aaron really emphasized the control over drugs that can have on a person, and it could take over their family. He shared a intimate detail about being raped in front of his mom at 6 years old, and then being denied services again when he was in the Air Force when that happened to him. Another person that really changed up a perspective is, Justin Long. Justin Long, his mom was a little bit delusional, actually a lot of bit delusional. He would be put inside a garbage can when he was a kid, and then his dad would beat him when he got home. Those actually impacted me. Then hearing from other people that I've actually talked to the first one that I met with, Ben, him being the one that opened up the door, and Ben can talk. And I remember I actually watched it. He talked for 30 minutes straight, and I was very impressed. And I'm grateful for Ben, and I'm grateful for him actually showing me a new perspective on like how to handle stuff. And everybody that I've interlocked with has given me insight that I just carry with me.
I imagine you get more out of doing this podcast than probably the listeners do, having these conversations and having a constant opportunity to learn and grow yourself.
The To be fair, some of the people that I've spoken to, they talk to me about cancer and the saying I love you and how much that impacted them because like, are they expecting me to die? And then all of a sudden it's like, no. He's like, well, they actually cared. Now I have to change this up. And so have I gotten a lot out of this? Yeah. And if anything, it's reshaped my lens about the mental health field. Like, what I learned about in school is different. What I did as a peer specialist is different. As a person that went through the mental health system, it's different. And how much of this stuff is compounding effects. And I have had the privilege of listening to people share intimate stories with me to their knowledge and help me reshape my lens. So, yes, I have gotten a lot out of it.
I imagine you probably don't get a lot of feedback from listeners. I don't know if imposter syndrome is a real thing for you. You release an episode and you have like, 100 views and then it's just crickets and you're probably wondering, I'm projecting on you, but you're probably sitting there going, did anyone even like this episode? Does anyone listen? Does anyone care? And so I want you to know from me as a regular listener, that episode you referenced where when he was 6, I often will watch your show I'll watch the video on YouTube because I have 2 screens while I'm working away. And that episode, I literally had to pause your show and shut down my editing software, and I cried because as a mother, I can't fathom sitting there and letting that happen to your child and just watching it happen. And I just sat there and I sobbed, and then I had to pull myself together to finish the episode. But I do think you're making such an impact whether you hear it directly and know it or not.
So the words of advice that I've gotten and the feedback that I've gotten that makes me continue to keep pushing forward is my brother, surprisingly, and the reason I use the word surprisingly because I didn't think that you'd be into this. He was talking about a few of his buddies were watching this, and they started talking about mental health. And the way I grew up, and my brother, they're not big fans of that phrase, mental health. I've had other friends that reached out to me personally that I serve with, where our buddy Vlad that completed about 2 years ago, and he told me he had a beer with him, which he went to the gravesite, and he said, "Well, you're doing the good things." And I've had other people, but Dr. Grimmel and my brother said, Will, you're not going to gain traction. You're not going to gain traction quickly. People want that smut. They want that controversy. They want that anger. You're trying to push a product that is about healing. In America, it's not always so quick. You want to push the hard work. People want the pills. And if you do it this way, it's going to grow, but it'll grow really slow. And I've had personal buddies that reached out to me to there was a person around here that had, type 2 bipolar, and another individual I know that's a female let me know that she had type 1 bipolar, and she's in an affluent job, and it was where she felt so alone, she felt so ostracized if she was to share this, and having people share similar symptoms and similar struggles, it gave other people the ability to breathe a little bit deeper.
Yeah. And you're 100% right. From a marketing standpoint, you're doing it obviously not the way if you want to grow quickly and throw a bunch of money at it, but the way you're doing it organically and with pure intention like that, in my opinion, is the correct way to do this. It reaches the people it needs to reach. You're making a difference, grassroots.
Yeah, like I jokingly say, I do this to lose money. I spend
That is what podcasting is. That's why I retired. It was so much work and little return. But okay, well, I can see in our current political climate and just the overall narrative right now, there is still a lot of stigma around men asking for mental help. I am wondering what are some common barriers that keep men from reaching out that you've seen just doing the work that you do?
it's not even just men, and this is not a shot at women, but this is how men feel. A lot of them do, and I'm not saying for all, is that if they were to talk about it with their partner and their partner uses their mental health against them, when we get heated and into a volatile relationship, we have heard it be used against us. Another part to it is, like, I've had conversations with EMT and firefighters, and I was actually on LinkedIn last night, and somebody posted something about complex PTSD for law enforcement. I said something, I said, "I can understand where you're coming from." And the police captain actually responded. He liked my post because it wasn't aggressive. But you talk if a person asks for mental health in the EMT field, the firefighter field, the police field, you can get pulled. Not only will you get pulled for your mental health, but now you're losing your identity. And so I'm like, "Oh, you get a paycheck." No, you're losing your purpose. People that become first responders, they're losing their purpose. The another barrier, another challenge, construction workers. Construction actually has the highest rates overall of suicide. They don't have the time. They don't have the resources to get mental health as much. They have been suffering in silence. They have been role modeled, a lot of them, to avoid it because they rather the beer or they believe the gym can fix it. The gym can help out a lot, but the biggest challenge or obstacle, and this is my belief, is that many people have not been role modeled or shown that it's okay to express their emotions. One of the episodes that I did, she was born in Brazil. She was a teacher there, and then she became a social worker and worked in outside of Denver. She hit the nail on the head and really struck me, which was boys, when they're upset, they don't get investigated. They don't get met with curiosity. And at a young age, boys get shown, "Hey, stop. Stop being angry. Quiet." And they're losing that. If I was to say emotions were like the rainbow, they lose that color, that crisp color, and it starts to get more and more and more dull over the time. So to be able to experience those emotions that really help out with mental health, you have to be allowing yourself to be able to have the understanding of the spectrum of emotions.
I want to go back to what you said about women at the beginning because I can speak on behalf of women. And I would say it is absolutely a problem that I see that we don't provide the space for our men to express their emotions, right? Women do use it as a weapon against you. And I think that is the other half of the conversation on my end that also can happen is, if your man's struggling, be curious, ask him why. Let him talk through it with you instead of using it against him to belittle, and that is something I see a lot. And also, I want to bring up the first time we met, the first time we hung out, we actually ended up like chatting in a smoothie shop, but then we went for a walk in the woods, like in a secluded area because we were just yapping and walking. And I thanked you the next day for being someone that was I can feel that you were so safe that I could let my guard down and just be myself and have a real conversation with you. And I don't think enough women tell their men that, or the men in their life, like, thank you for being someone who is so safe, because I don't think they realize how important that is.
And I also bought Bob Ross underwear,
You
which is
did.
probably my favorite pair of underwear. They fit so
We
good, and I'm gonna
talked
buy
in
another.
Shields, and he's like, "I need these." And so, yeah, we bought you boxers, and we went to a secluded area, and, like, it was a non-issue. It was just 2 pals talking, and it was a great day. So, there's a fun story,
Yes.
but thank you. Thank you for being that person, a person in my life that can be that for me.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And I do the follow-up question I had to that was how can we start breaking down these barriers? And I think just that conversation right there was a good start, right? Because I can speak for women and you can speak for men, and that's how this happens. That's how this starts.
The thing that I believe that we could start breaking down these barriers, um, it's really having people be okay with having those tough conversations, having those conversations that people are willing. Somebody said feeling safe giving a hug, but showing people it's okay to cry, it's okay to fall apart, it's okay to be raw. It's easy to show the signs of suicide. It's okay to show these signs of this is what happens, like, on Instagram. Let's actually show those more moments of, like, that police officer, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen it. He goes over behind this guy because this individual called the crisis line, and I think it was in Pennsylvania, and it was a state trooper, and every time I see this one, it actually makes me tear up. The guy, he's at that point where he's about done. He's about done, and the state trooper met him with kindness, he met him with love, he met him with respect, and when he did that, he allowed the person to fall apart and not worried about just going to the white coats. He's like, "Can I have a hug?" And the state trooper humanized his experience and said, "Yes." There's been where a lot of times what we'll see on these videos, these programming, is the endpoints or the people getting caught with the safety net. We don't usually get a chance to see what is the path that they're walking on that led them there. What is the substance abuse? What is the avoidance? What is the X, Y, and Z? Like, what about their identity? Who are they? But I think women did a really great job showing men it's okay to speak up. It's okay for solidarity. It's okay to start to heal. Women want to be at the seat at the table, and they've done a really good job. And they have been dealing with a lot of generational trauma. Men have as well. And it's okay that we're actually starting to get into a society where healing is the best thing for our families. But I believe one of the biggest ways to do it is actually role model that, encourage people. I know your relationship with the church is a little bit off, but I believe that they have some really good men groups. They have other men groups that are not part of it. If you're if you know a guy that in your life that you love that likes playing with fucking cups and building cups, let him play cups. Build Legos, play some video games, but also have dialogue, not just past each other, but remember to meet each other.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I think that's all really good points. If you could give younger Will a piece of advice, like let's say little Will listened to this podcast about mental health and growth, what would it be?
Learn to sit still. Learn to understand when these emotions are coming, they will not control you. You don't need to run from the emotions. I learned the emotions are like waves. They can seem like huge monsters, like ghosts, but the longer that you can sit with those emotions, the more translucent they look, the more that you realize that they physically can't hurt you. The other thing is, if I can actually tell little Will, education, not just academia, but education is one of the biggest ways to free yourself from other people's control. There's no new original thought out there. All these thoughts have actually been said, have been done, have been written down. Take your time and read a book. Turn off the TV. Don't turn off the video games. Spend some time out in nature. Get hurt. Stay curious. And honestly, sucking at things is one of the best learning tools that you can ever learn because you can learn that you are okay and you can be able to figure it out.
Yeah, we all start anything as a novice. That's part of the growth. You got to suck at it first before you learn how to do it correctly.
So yeah, those are some of the biggest things that I would say. And if I knew I was going to go down the path that I went down, the thing I would say to my old self, regardless of how far you walk down a path, it's never too late to pivot. And it is okay to go down a path that has not been defined by anybody else. Go walk through those bushes, You don't need to follow what everybody else has went, and it's okay to get lost. You're strong enough to be able to figure out how to get back.
And we do have some people live on here that are participating in the chat. So, hi guys, thanks for watching. Great points that they made here. Um, Have you seen that trend on the internet? I spend a lot of my time in Instagram, specifically is my platform of choice, but they're calling it raw dogging life, and people are intentionally meditating for an hour, right? No cell phones, no music. They're just staring outside in nature, raw dogging life. I love that. I love calling it that, but even better, like they're reporting back with the changes they've seen just in all aspects of their life by forcing themselves, like you said, to sit in that stillness, and really feel through the emotions that come up.
Like, I'm sincere. I live by my calendar now, where I'm actually happy that I have some of the weight off of me because I'm able to get stuff done. But I've also been thinking, I'm like, all right, cool. After school, does that mean I'm just going to speed it up again? Speed it up. When am I going to take that tension off? And I've had friends that have actually reminded me to say, well, just take it off. But part of me, I enjoy that suffering aspect. That raw dog in life is awesome. Like, I met this woman from Alberta when I was doing some nonprofit in Texas, and she started telling me about barefoot hiking. I did some barefoot hiking over on Mount Rainier, and it changed my relationship with hiking. It actually became a lot more fun. So, yes, getting back to the basics is so healing.
Yeah, you've heard that saying, "Go touch some grass." Like when
Yeah,
people are upset, get outside and touch some grass. Like literally, nature.
yeah,
More healing than I think people give it credit for.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay, now I want to talk about the future of this show. Like you're doing an amazing job so far. Moving forward, what are your big plans? Do you have any big plans, or are you just going to keep doing what you're doing, long game?
So eventually what I would like to do is get some discussion boards, like
Oh,
discussion between I was supposed to have some EMTs on here and then I don't know why, but that all fell through and I was okay with it. But having discussions between multiple people, multiple relationships, having guys on a panel talk about this. I also would like to continue doing the one-on-one. And the other aspect is men need their tribe. The men you can talk to about the
mhm.
struggle, not to complain about the ball and chain, but to be honest about the weight of life. Even good things have a weight. Thank you, Chelsea. Uh, Another thing is that, and I've actually said this to several people, if I no longer am the best author for this and I find somebody else that's better, I will just hand it over. And the platform that I'm trying to work on doing is not for me. It's trying to leave something else a little bit better behind. Even if that means starting up discussion boards, or posts, or how talking. But at the end of the day, realistically, I am open to morphing, but I continue being open minded and whatever opportunities present, that's what I'm going to do.
What about like a men's retreat? Have you thought of that?
So I have. I realistically would like to get one done, started at least by the 31st, 2031. And I know that's a long way to go. I have the 16-month MSW program that's concentrated from here till 27. My license in social work is going to take me until about 2029 till I get my licensure. After my licensure, it's I'm gonna be about 45, 46. The area that I would like to do is I would like to get a cabin and multiple cabins to be built by a stream to help people go back to fishing, hiking, and actually getting back to the basics. And the retreat idea that I would love to do is helping people really disconnect, but being so intentional about when they actually get back to the technology, like, you're gonna be starved, you're gonna be wanting to get back to this, you're gonna wanna share, but learning how to delay that gratification, and that's gonna be the biggest part of the retreat, is about delaying the gratification and enjoying the suffering.
Are you gonna make them do, like, obstacle courses? Like, carry boulders? Like, really make them suffer? Like, sit in a cold stream?
You know, sitting in a cold stream does sound pretty good.
Yeah.
Carrying boulders, no, it's not that type of hazing, as much as I would like to. Splitting splitting some wood,
Mhm.
burning some wood, cooking, fishing, gutting, cooking it together, prepping it, having people help clean up, but being intentional with the times, doing yoga, getting in some conversations, reading some passages, and really reflecting on it. It's not like the alpha male retreat. It's going to be more of that tender, loving side inside of actually really getting a chance to re-know yourself. And another aspect to it I would like to do is, like, I don't know if people have heard about this, a living library. You sit in front of somebody else and you sit there for about 5 to 10 minutes and you listen and you learn about that person. And that person has the opportunity to move on to a different person or sit with you and ask you questions. And the reason I want to do that, so you can actually have the opportunity to hear instead of just react.
I love all those ideas. I think part of living in this society is, like you mentioned earlier, everything is so fast, so instant gratification that we forgot what it feels like to actually do something with your hands, something that takes time, like catching and gutting a fish, splitting wood for a fire. All of those things that require our basic survival require the work, and we don't have that anymore, right? We have electricity and plumbing now. And I think just that alone is incredibly healing and amazing if you can get people in that space, not adding on the conversations and the camaraderie in that tribe, you know?
Yeah, that's an area that I would like to do. And so when you ask me about the future of this, it's still pivoting, it's still evolving.
Mhm.
Like I've asked social workers to be on here. I've asked psychologists to be on here, sex therapists, porn addiction coaches. And the more that I learn about mental health, the more that I realize that a lot of people show symptoms in different areas, but also mental health doesn't mean that you always have had something wrong with you. It just sometimes it's just been not shown that it's okay to repivot or look at that lens from a different structure. Because, like, I have the privilege to work with people that are audio impaired, like they can't hear or they can't speak, and watching them pull away from people, then gaining depression, where we move away from friction to get that comfort. But that comfort becomes that solitude at first, then becomes that isolation, which becomes the depression, which creates this boohoo is me. But at the same time, they forget how to engage with people that might have a different perspective. So when I look at this, I'm trying to see how many different areas or ways can we agitate people to realize that it's okay to start speaking up now and actually having those really not the big ROI, but the compounding interest in mental health.
I like that analogy too. It's a great way to look at it. Where do you see your show? You told me long-term goals, which I think it's actually really impressive that you have it planned out that far to 2031, including what you're going through right now. Where do you see yourself in a year? Where do you see your show?
So I see myself in February 2nd of 27 being on my last bit of my schooling, about to graduate grad school. I will see myself asking for hopefully having one person helping me out with the editing and somebody else along for the ride that's actually willing to do that. and, learning how to use those stupid calendar apps. I still don't know how to use them. I'm still trying to figure that out. But in about a year, I see it having more discussions, more opportune questions. I know people say like, follow, subscribe so we can have bigger names. I'm not about bigger names. I still see myself talking to the average person, the individuals that are in this field, and hopefully I can get more of those letters, more of those conversations saying, "Hey, thank you so much. I'm not here to say I want to have 100,000 subscribers. No, I'll have one subscriber, great. But if it also means other people are listening and that person is healing, good shit. It's it's not about the subs to me. It's more about can this help out other people? And if it doesn't at that time, I know I'll close it up. And like I said, if there's a better author at that time, I'm willing to pivot.
And so far, you've proven that clearly what you're saying and doing matters and it's resonating with people because you have been growing. So I would expect the same trajectory. I'm going to ask, we do have some people in the chat. So I'm going to ask you, chat, do you have any questions for Will this morning? Because this is a fun episode where we get to ask him questions. We did have some great comments.
Chelsea and Candace were the ones that were talking. I don't know who else is in the chat.
Well, that's all I had for you today, Will.
Well, Kelly, I appreciate it. I do. I knew you would have good questions. I knew that's one of the things when you proposed the idea, I knew were thought provoking. It was something to think about long term. What is the longevity? What are some of the potential? So yeah, I didn't say this, but Billings has this news studio or a studio where you can do sit down interviews with people. And I've been looking at possibly using that space for local people when I'm doing interviews and possibly talking about those areas. And then if more comes from this, I'm open to other perspectives.
I think there's so many arms of the foundation is
I appreciate so if nobody else has any questions, I will conclude this. Well, Kelly, thank you. How did you like doing the interviewing? Thank you. Well,